Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Well, I hope you all are. Now, I've got another video for you. Now, I think someone else has already mentioned this. I think it was Gobster Talks About Things who's mentioned this. But unfortunately, we can see some more two-tier justice being dispensed out like you wouldn't believe. This time in the form of a YouTuber, podcaster, whatever you want to call him, named Craig Houston, I believe it was. He ended up getting arrested after a Muslim counsellor in Scotland ended up getting a whole load of tweets and what have you from people. They want to say in the mainstream media that it's Islamophobic hatred. I will just make this very fucking clear for all of those brain-dead retards in the left wing. And yes, I do use that word, because only the morally deficient and brain-dead would even have the audacity to continue with such tripe. But Islamophobia would imply an irrational fear of Islam, and I have said many times before, and I will say it here again, there is no such thing as an irrational fear of Islam. In fact, I think a lot of people's fear of Islam is very fucking rational. Not just on the violent side or the terrorist side, as we have seen time and time again with a lot of these atrocities, but also with what they bring as far as their intolerance towards our society. And hell, even as of late, apparently Islam wants to now bring about a ban of bacon, of all things. Well, I actually had a bunch of bacon rashers yesterday. Fucking enjoyed that with the food I made. Anyway, the point of that, I guess they think it distracts them or puts them more into temptation of being stroke number one of eating what they shouldn't. Oh, good God, here we go again. But at the end of the day, who the fuck are they to decide what we can and can't eat? Who the fuck are they, as the guests in our country, a Christian country, I might add? Who are they to tell us what we can and can't have? Who are they to say, well, you're not allowed to have bacon, you're not allowed to have ham, you're not allowed to have turkey, you're not allowed to go down Greg's, etc., etc. Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get what I mean. But back to the counsellor. This counsellor went out of their way to say that when they got into politics, they were surprised with, and I quote, how pale, male, and stale it all was. End quote. Now, pale, I think you can probably guess what I mean by that. And I'm not talking about a pail of water that Jack and Jill went up the fucking hill to go and get. But I'm talking about how pale one's skin looks like. Kind of like when someone's been drained of a lot of their blood and they start to go blanch white like a bloody sheet. Then they went ahead and said male and stale and all that. Well, you can't really say much about stale, because obviously that just describes like a smell or how boring something might be. However, the fact that this Muslim council went out of their way to say that the politics are pale and male, obviously very sexist towards males. I think I recall, if I'm not too much mistaken, there's a whole load of fucking politicians that are currently in the nonce party. I mean the Labour Party. Or maybe I was right first time. Who are female. I can think of quite a few, in fact. I can think of Diane Hippopotamus. I can think of that girl, was it Daisy, who ended up leaving the nonce party because she didn't like their values. We've got Rachel Thieves, we've got Angela Rayner, we've got Jess Phillips. That's just to name a few. Like, there are quite a few female representatives in Parliament. Now, whether they should be or not, I'm not here to debate. But what I am here to say is that anybody that can go out of their way to use social media the way this silly cow has, this Scottish MP, in name only, I will say, because she feels like she's about as Scottish as a Cardiff fish. She has nothing good about her right now, from what I can see from this tweet, that says to me, yeah, she's a woman I want in power. I think I'd rather go and stick a gun in my mouth and blow my head off, quite frankly. But she has no right to say those racist things and then expect no consequences. And what is even more sickening is the fact that then the police and the media, they're trying to twist this and spin a yarn and make it, oh, look at these horrible people attacking this Scottish MP for having her views. No, that is not how it works, bud. If you throw shade, expect shade to be thrown back. Who said how much that would be if I was thrown? Shut up, you. I'm not that big, fucking hell. But jokes aside, if you throw shade on the internet, don't be surprised if the internet throws shade back, quite frankly. And this woman, okay, I wouldn't condone anybody like sending this Islamic person death threats and what have you. But what I will say is, if you go and poke the bear with a stick, don't be surprised if the bear suddenly starts getting pissed off and wants to take half your face off. That's the way to look at it. She could have easily avoided this. If she had never pressed that post button when she put that video out expressing her views, these problems would never have existed. All of it would have gone away, just like that. But of course, we know how tolerant Islam is of our society. As in not very tolerant at all. We all know that Islam worships a deity that likes to have a marriage and non-consensual acts of S with an underage child of 7 named Aisha. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me. It doesn't suit the narrative. But yet it's Craig Houston Talks that ends up thrown in jail because he dared to challenge this. He dared to challenge this silly cow. Now here's the thing. If it was on the off chance that this openly racist woman, this openly racist Muslim woman, was targeted by people based off of maybe Houston said something that was openly racist, even though you can't be racist against religion. But if you were, like, slagging her off and saying, oh, go and get her, boys, and give her shit and all that. No, you can't do that. And I'm not going to advocate for that shit either, because I have principles, something that Islam tends not to have. But Craig Houston did not mention anything from what I saw in the content that, to me, screams, he's a horrible racist! Because obviously we know that that weapon is pretty much used as their own type of weapon that they brandish against anybody who dares to question their narrative. Hell, something I only found out now, in fact, as I'm watching the video from Gobster. Turns out Google have even tried to twist the yarn themselves with the definition of racism, where they said it's typically done to an ethnic minority group or marginal groups. No, it happens to anyone. It applies to anyone. You can't just say, oh, well, racism doesn't apply to this group up here because they're much bigger than the general population, or you can't do this group because they're only a small protected group of people. Like, no! Racism is indiscriminate. If I go and call a black person a racial slur, that's racism. Likewise, if a black person comes up to me and calls me a racial slur, that's racism. If a Muslim woman goes out of her way to slag off a Christian with some racial slurs, that makes her racist, and etc., etc. These are all things that should be common sense in our society, but unfortunately, there is about as much common sense as Keir the Traitor Starmer has chances of winning a second term, quite frankly. We are living in a society where it seems it's okay to be racist if you're doing it against white people. Oh, but the moment somebody targets someone who is being openly racist, oh, the ones who are calling out the racism get arrested. Why are we not surprised, though? This is the current climate of what we're living in right now. I don't know why it's just brightening up all of a sudden, but hey ho. Anyway, this is the current climate we live in right now. And it all stinks to hell and back of absolute bullshit. Racism, as I said, is not a matter of, oh, it's only done to minority groups or ethnic minorities. It happens all the fucking time across the world. Hell, in Africa, you see black people hunting down white people and taking their lands. Again, the mainstream media won't tell you that. They won't tell you about the fact that white farmers in Africa tend to get more persecuted than most other places in the United Kingdom or the world for that matter, or other people. They won't tell you that. But that's mainly because, as I said, the left, the NPCs, they've already signed on to the narrative of, oh, it's okay to be racist against white people. No, it's not okay to be racist against anyone. Whether they be white, black, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, or whatever. Likewise, it's not okay to be racist if they're living in France, Spain, Italy, Germany, USA, Finland, Norway, Sweden, just to name a few countries out there. And it is not okay to be openly sexist, whether it's male versus female or female versus male. But Craig was arrested because apparently this woman got a load of hatred. Well, here's a newsflash. Craig Houston's not fucking guilty of that shit, because he never said anything that could be construed as hatred. The only thing he did was he debunked a stupid, lying sack of shit. That's all he did. Debunked her. Completely deconstructed her argument. Deconstructed her racist points that she made. And as I said, if you go out your way to say stupid shit on the internet, if you go out your way to say racist shit on the internet, don't be surprised if people want to come along and beat the shit out of you, quite frankly. Ow, fuck, I actually hurt myself there. Anyway, that's the point I'm trying to make here. She did something stupid, i.e. she was racist against white people, and the whole of Twitter decided to call her out on it. That is nothing to do with Craig Houston. It is nothing to do with people like me. It is nothing to do with other famous YouTubers who have channels that are in the hundreds of thousands, if not the millions of subscribers. That is nothing at all to do with their actions. All of this can be put in this one very simple point I'm about to make. Everything that transpired to that woman all came down to her. It's as simple as that. Like I said, all she had to do is not click post. These problems go away. Just like that. But she clicked post after she had her little racist rant towards white people. And now the media are trying to play her out as the victim. She's not the victim, she's the perpetrator in all this. Don't try to spin the yarn that she's an innocent Muslim woman. Because she is not innocent. She is no more innocent than what Jamal was in that case of Jamal versus Tommy Robinson. Jamal, the boy who beat in a girl's back with a hockey stick, who rendered a boy unconscious just out of malicious intent. Boy who ends up going out of his way to stab another person in the hand with a compass. I don't want to go too much into Tommy Robinson's stuff, because obviously that's not what the video is about. This video is about this silly cow of a woman and the fact that we're seeing two-tiered policing and two-tiered justice being carried out. Why hasn't she been arrested yet? I frankly find it extremely offensive that she can say all this vitriol on the internet. I find it even more offensive that she hasn't been arrested for this shit, and yet somebody who hasn't even remotely been racist, even though you can't be racist against a religion, has been arrested because they now want to put it, I guess, guilt by association. They must think that every single fucking person that came over and gave her hate or basically called her out for atrocious behaviour, I guess they want to say, oh, we've got to put the blame on someone. Oh, I know. Let's blame him. Let's blame that guy over there. He's a big YouTuber. We can send a message to them. The only message you're sending us right now is how fucking stupid you look. You only send us a message of basically you confirming exactly what we've been saying over these last 2 years. That this is the two-tier policing society. This is the two-tier policing society. We're coming to get you. We're gonna lock up you and release the rapists too. Or some shit like that. God fucking damn it. That's the trouble when I get into song and dance. A mess usually ends up happening. Anyway, the bottom line in all this is there is nothing that couldn't have been prevented. Nothing at all. If this woman had kept her mouth shut and not said the racist shit that she did and then click post, this story would never have existed. Simple as that. There would be no racism. There would be no arrest. There would be no targeted hatred. Although I don't even feel it was targeted. I think this was just... it's not so much justified, but more fuck around, find out, basically. Because that's really the simplest term I can use for this shit. She fucked around, she found out. And now she's crying the victim. She's playing the victim card. I'm surprised you don't have a whole pack of them in your hand after people keep telling you to draw 4. But that's what she's done. She effectively cried racism, she cried the victim card, and now someone's been arrested for it. I hope you understand what you're doing, whoever you are, because I don't know your name. But I'm sure there will be people out there who would be more than willing to name and shame your sorry cunt ass. That's the way I look at it. And the only person you have to blame, ma'am, is yourself. Because all you had to do was zip it. All you had to do, if you couldn't stop yourself from saying those atrocious things, don't click post. Because then the whole thing is posted on the internet, receipts and all. And I'll tell you right now, you are due some change, alright? You're definitely due some fucking change. And that change isn't going to be the lovely jingle jangle kind that you leave in your pocket and you're hoping to use when you need to get rid of some of it or pay for a bus fare or what have you. No, this change is your political career going down the shitter. And you can't say this is any of our fault. You can't say it's Craig Houston's fault. You can't say it's Gobs that talks about things fault. You can't say that. And you can't say it's the fault of the people calling you out. All of this comes back to you. The wheel of karma. You decided to be openly racist. The internet wanted payback. And now your political career may well be going down the toilet. All because you couldn't control yourself. I hope Craig Houston gets out of jail and does not have to face any kind of sentencing or cautionary shit. I hope the charges are dropped, and I hope he can just get back to being a YouTuber. Because the way I see it, he's done nothing wrong. As I said, the only one in the wrong here is the moronic racist cow from the religion of peace, who wanted to take a swipe at white people. Well, don't be surprised now if you're swiping left on your political career.